is I got to fall into that pool when the angel stirs the water. And he lay there for so many years, waiting for the opportunity, and he watched the move of God. God's moving again. Look, the waters are moving. The angel's here. The waters are moving. And he saw somebody else go in. And he saw somebody else go in. But you know, Jesus, when he showed up, there was nothing happening. There was no excitement. There was no revival going on. There was no example of a leper being healed or somebody being raised from the dead. Everything was quiet. Everything stank because of the rotten flesh of all the people with all their diseases. Flies were everywhere. People that were, doing their necessities out around the outer edges of this place. I'm sure it was a very nasty place. It was just diseased, sick, cancerous, nasty people, which is us. And Jesus walks right into the middle of it and says, do you want to be healed? Oh, but God, there's not a great move going on. The angel's not moving the waters. Nothing's happening. And Jesus is standing in the middle of all that chaos, and he says, do you want to be healed? You know, it was a real test, and it's a real test for us if we really know how to respond to the Spirit in faith and be led by the Spirit when nothing is happening. And you see, like I said Sunday, this is true. Every great evangelist came to the same conclusion before they died, and they all said the same thing in one way or another. There is no such thing as a great move of God that we've never seen before. God just wants to do the same thing he's always wanted to do. And he's looking for men and women that are willing to get on their face and find it. It takes tremendous sacrifice. You know, if you remember back to that time when I said, I got it in the meeting, I said, I'm sick of going to these conferences. And I told them, I ain't going to no more conferences. I'm tired of it. We either get God here or let's just forget it. You know, why do we have to drive? You know, my rump is not made for sitting for 4 days. I don't know what it is about me. I sit for 3 hours and I'm going crazy. And we go to these conferences and have to sit for 4 days and I'd be going out of my mind. You know, I can't stand it. You know, some of you got a little more padding than I do or something. I don't know what it is, but I just can't stand to sit through these conferences. It drives me crazy. And my patience would wear thin, and I'd be paying all this money, and I said, I'm tired of this. So we started crying out to God, and I really started seeking God, and God started showing up. That's all there is to it. There is no trick. There's no conference you can pay $500 for and go listen to these guys teach. You know, just like the guard said, the guard was right. He told that couple, Benny Hinn can't give you anything. He said, go home to your church and seek God. And they did it. And God started moving. Well, see, all great moves of God are preceded by a small group of people that are willing to get on their face and seek God. That is the only formula there is for God showing up. And Jesus walks among all the masses of the sick and the dying people, and he always asks the same question, are you ready to be healed? Are you ready to see the Spirit move right here, right now? Forget about the waters. You know, forget about that over there. Forget it. I'm here. Do you want to see it happen? And Jesus is looking for people. You know, he's looking for churches. He's looking for people that will understand. You know, when I gave you that illustration a while back about walking in the Spirit, you know, when Jesus is talking to Nicodemus about being born of water, being born of the Spirit, you know, there's one thing about a baby, all you women that have had babies, you know, I watched all my babies being born, and I watched all my grandchildren being born. Because my daughters wanted me to be there when they were, the only one I missed was when Melody had my young in Texas, but I saw the other three. And there's something about babies that you can't teach them. Nobody can teach them. It don't matter how many years that doctor went to medical school, he cannot teach the baby how to breathe. It's natural. As soon as he comes out, and you shake him or smack him, he starts breathing. And, you know, then it can cut the umbilical cord. And for the rest of his life, the baby never has to think twice about breathing. He breathes for the rest of his life, you know, until he dies. It's not something that, you know, how many of you guys sit around and think, I gotta breathe? Breathe in. Okay, gotta get this day going now. 7 a.m. You gotta breathe. You know, we don't do that. We go to sleep. I mean, have you ever laid awake at night afraid you're gonna stop breathing if you go to sleep? We don't do that. We breathe all night. Well, see, then Jesus talks about being born of the Spirit. Now, understand what this is saying. Before we're born of the Spirit, our spirit man is dead. It's not breathing. It's dead. There's no life there. The baby comes out. It starts breathing. And it's going to breathe for at least 75 years, average lifespan, God willing. And we're born of the Spirit, and we say, man, it is so hard to walk in the Spirit. And we teach people the stupidest teachings in the world, that it's hard to live it by the Spirit. We got to strive to live by the Spirit. You got to pray more to live by the Spirit. You got to read the Bible more. You're not reading enough to live by the Spirit. Who told you that? If you're born of the Spirit, it's just like a fish in the water. Do you have, you know, we look at fish in the water, we say, you ever watch Animal Planet? You know, they always talk about evolution. Now, they're deceived. They always talk about evolution, and they say it's such a wonder that these fish can breathe underwater. Well, the fish doesn't think that. You know, the fish was made to breathe underwater. It's like us, we go to these aquariums and wow, man, they breathe underwater. And the fish is looking out and saying, wow, man, they breathe out of the water. We don't think that. Why do we think that living and breathing the Spirit is any different? You see, if we had been born into a world, everything we do in that world comes naturally because we have the DNA to do it. So you see, Adam and Eve, when they were originally created in the image of God, they were created as spiritual living beings. And the only thing that is happening when we get saved is we're getting that back. That's being restored to us. What we originally had, the image of God in us, imprinted in us, we're getting it back through Jesus. Okay, so when we're born again, we're being born back into that thing that was lost at the fall, and our spiritual man is born. Therefore, we're not just flesh. We become a living spiritual being. So folks, just as you come out of your mother's womb and you start breathing in this natural world, when you're born again, you're breathing the heavenly air. You're breathing Spirit. You're breathing life. You don't have to look for it. Okay, you don't have to go get in your closet every morning and think, well, I should have walked in the Spirit today. You don't have to do that. You got to have faith to appropriate it. But you also have to have faith to believe and understand what's been given you through the Spirit. We've been given the image of God back to us again. We're called to walk in it. It's a calling. It's a godly calling. We're called to live the kingdom. What is God trying to do through the church? Well, in one way, it's a mystery because there's things we don't see and we don't understand. We haven't been up in the third heaven. I mean, at least I haven't. Maybe some of y'all had. I have not. Okay. About as high as I've been as an airplane, so I haven't been in the third heaven. But I will tell you this. What we're trying to establish here on earth is what is happening in heaven. Yes. It's the life of heaven. Yes. It's what God wants to bring here to the earth. So when we talk about divine healing, we talk about provision, we talk about blessing, what we're talking about is what God originally determined for us to walk in. God wants to restore it. Now I do know that because of all the darkness and the things going on in the world, the kingdom of heaven is not fully manifested itself. I realize that. But it is being manifest more and more